All right, so for this week's project, we're going to be taking a look at this very nice old Sansui 1000X AM/FM receiver. And if I had to guess, I'd say early to mid 70s for this one. And this unit was never really going to be a video. A customer brought this into me about a month ago, and he complained at that time that it had no sound whatsoever on either channel. And what I found was a tape monitor switch turned on, and there was plenty of sound. Everything was working fine. And so I discussed it with him, and he decided he would like to go ahead and get the controls clean, because I did notice some scratchiness in those. And there was also a couple of lights that were burned out, but that he didn't want to pursue that, didn't want to spend any additional money for the lamps to be changed. He only agreed to getting the controls cleaned in the unit. And so it's a very simply stated, very elegant looking receiver, and the wood cabinet is still in pretty good shape. There's a few dings and a few scratches, but overall it's still looking real good. So we'll come in, we'll have a look at the controls, we'll have a look at what they provided for us in the back of the unit as far as connections. And then we'll just do a little bit of a show and tell with this. We're kind of on hiatus. We had our compact disc player from last week, and that did get approved by the customer. And so parts are being ordered for that. And hopefully we can pick back up on that next week. Our intro music this week, we are listening to the debut album by Led Zeppelin. And one of my favorite songs from this record is Your Time Is Gonna Come. So let's hear a little bit of this, and we'll get started on the Sansui.
Don't care what you say, 'cause I'm gonna wait a stay. Gonna make you pay for that great big hole in my heart. People jumping all around. Watch out, woman, no longer is the joke gonna be on my heart. You've been bad to me, woman, but it's coming back home to you. Your time is gonna come. 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 Your time is gonna come.
All right, let's pick back up and have a look at the controls in the front panel here. On the far left, of course, we're going to get a very nice tight latching power switch. 1/4-inch headphone jack, of course. As for the speakers, provisions for 4 speakers here with basically off A, B, and A plus B. Independent left and right control of bass and treble. Balance control. And as for the switches, we're going to get a high filter, loudness, stereo mono, provisions for 2 tape decks, 2 tape monitor switches, a muting. And as for selection, we get phono, FM auto, AM, and auxiliary. And of course on the top right, we got a very nice heavily weighted tuning and volume control. Let's take a look at the top cabinet here. Only noticed a few flaws. There's a chip kind of in the far back here. It's not too terrible. And then anything else that's really notable, there's a few little things around the front here. It looks like maybe where another component was stacked on top of it. The worst being just a few little scratches right through here. But other than that, the cabinet looks pretty good. Okay, give me a second here and let's flip it around. It is heavy, as you might imagine. Let's turn it around and look at what the back has got. All right, and carrying on with checking out the connections in the back. On the top left here, we have provisions for our 2 tape decks. Record and monitor is how they have them labeled versus record and playback or in and out. Tape 1 also has a DIN connection in case you happen to have a tape deck with the same plug on it. Then you just need the 1 single cable that will feed playback and record for left and right channels. You don't have to have 4 separate plugs, just one cable. Phono and auxiliary connections here. Moving over to quick acting fuses is how they have it labeled, 2.5 amps, and these are probably coming right off of the amplifier for speaker protection. And then they're going to give you System A and System B with the cool spring clip terminals. One thing I like about this is that even though it's a small receiver, they did provide preamp out and main in jacks in case you want to route this unit out to a larger amplifier. Now, I've never been too good at decoding these serial numbers, and a lot of times they say that the last 2 digits could correspond to the year that it was made. In this case, it's 68, so if it was made in 1968, it was made the same year I was born. And also, I picked the right Led Zeppelin record. I believe that first record was made in 69. And they give you a nice brand name tag here, given the model number and Sansui, of course. A little bit of information about it. And, of course, the AM antenna. And then connections for additional antennas, both AM and FM. A mainline fuse, and they're going to give you one outlet here. I believe it is switched. Yep. And then this little bump out right here, I believe there's a universal voltage switch. In case you want to take it overseas, you can change the tap on the transformer and safely use it in another country. Well, I guess the first thing we should do is, I know it already works, I'm going to get it out of the cabinet and we'll get some speakers hooked up and kind of have a tour of this real quick and see what it sounds like. So give me a second for that and we'll pick back up. All right, pick it back up. Got the speakers hooked up. Everything is working as it was the first time I looked at it, and just messing around with those controls will get them to kind of clear up a little bit, but they are all going to need to be cleaned. I think his main problem was along these switches right here. The loudness in particular was causing the left channel to cut out, and then the tape monitor was causing the right one to cut out. Yeah, it's now affecting the left one, so gonna need a little work on the switches. Let's take a look over the top here. Can't beat ease of service. Amplifier output transistors mounted right top center. No trying to dig down through a bunch of circuitry to get to them. They're right there on top. Of course, all 4 are exactly the same, a 2SC 1030. Rocking that complementary symmetry design, which was very popular then. Driver board mounted right here in the immediate vicinity. So getting that out won't be a problem. I believe it's mounted in a little card and slot configuration there. Nice tuner and everything. Right up on the left. More RF, I guess some preamp stuff, or it could be more FM stereo. I guess it's FM stereo. And I'm pretty sure I could live with the one lamp being out in the front display, but one thing I can't live with is the fact that the pointer lamp is out, so I can't really tell what station I'm on. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fix that for him pro bono. We'll throw that in with the control cleaning that he's paying for. As for the dial lamp, I don't know. I'm going to let him slide on that, but I can't let it leave here with the dial pointer lamp not working. So we'll go ahead and get that taken care of for him. Let me go ahead and get the bottom of the unit off. One of the lines for that dial pointer runs down to the bottom. And let's find out where that's going and make sure there's not some kind of simple connection issue. I'm sure there's not, but we'll double check it. And then we'll pick back up and see what we need to do to get to that dial pointer lamp. So give me a second for that and we'll come back. All right, we're going to pick back up. Went ahead and got the bottom of the unit removed and traced our dial pointer light right down one of the leads, tags into this board right here. I'm not sure why, but Nonetheless, it does have the 6 volts AC required for the bulb, so we got a bad bulb. And to get that changed, it looks like the whole front's going to have to come off, so that'll be a little bit of a task. Otherwise, everything looking nice and clean here. If you've ever wondered what a 50-year-old Nichicon axle lead cap looks like, there's one right here, a couple of them or so. Got one end of it tagged into that socket for the driver board for the amplifier. A couple of big filter caps mounted there. Otherwise, the unit's kicking along pretty good. Was able to get the volume control cleaned, but I think we'll have better luck with the toggle switches once the face comes off. Otherwise, sounding pretty good.
Girl, you gotta love your man. Take him by the hand. Make him understand. The world on you depends. Our life will never end. Gotta love your man. Yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead and start the task of getting the face off of it, and then we'll pick back up and see if we can get the dial pointer light changed out for him. So give me a few minutes for that, and we'll come back. All right, so you're picking back up on day 2. I went ahead and got the front of the unit removed and got down to where the defective bulb was. And I'm gonna zoom in here. Normally this is something I probably would have just done inside the video, but we're working in a pretty fragile area here, and so I didn't want to run the risk of damaging anything right here. And basically what we got going on is we have the 2 leads from the dial pointer light coming in, going underneath the dial string here, and then this part of the dial string rides on top. And so these clips had to be pried up ever so gently in an effort not to lose position on the dial pointer and to get the heat shrink tubing they used. And this is the same stuff that was there. I went ahead and reused it, and you have to get it underneath here and then get it down into this little slot right here. And the old bulb basically just, there was only one lead connected to it. It was just, you know, pretty much the heat from the light all those years just basically just rotted the bulb away. And so didn't have anything to worry about there. But basically the way that this is going to go, and these leads are going to slide into this tubing right here, and they'll be completely insulated. But the way that it goes is it goes down inside the slot like that, and the front part of the pointer lights up orange. You can't see it here, but once we get it all back together, you'll be able to see it a little bit clearer. But that's kind of how that goes. And this is something that's, again, very tedious. I didn't want to try to narrate my way through this and then wind up inadvertently nicking this dial string and have that disaster to be concerned with. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all tidied up. Once I get it all tidied up, then from that point, we'll take a look at it before I put the face back on the unit so we can get a better look. And we'll be on our way here. So give me a minute for that, and we'll pick back up. All right, so we're going to pick back up, now having the dial lamp completely reinstalled, slip down inside the little slot right there, and the leads of the bulb nice and secured inside that heat shrink tubing, and then of course everything nice and locked down here. I don't know how tight we can get with the camera before it starts to get a little crazy. But it is a very frail little area, so you definitely want to be super careful when prying up those tabs not to nick that wire or that dial cord. If you nick it, that is it. It probably won't survive more than 1 or 2 turns before it breaks in half. And of course, this is an essential thing because now you can clearly see where the marker is for the station. You know, you can clearly see where you're at, versus before where it was completely dark and you can't see anything. And so, yeah, we'll throw that one in for him for free. One other thing that I did is I took off the front piece right here, the dowel plate, and switched out a couple of the bulbs so we could get this light dispersed a little bit better, because I had seen kind of a dark area over here, and so I swapped a couple of the bulbs around so we have kind of a more, you know, contour dispersion of the light, I guess you would say. I'll give him the dial pointer light, but I'm not going to give him the dial lamp backlight. I'm not going to give him that one. I don't have one anyway. It's a 6-volt lamp, and all I have is 12. So, but otherwise, I think we're doing pretty good. I think the next step, we're going to start working on some of these dirty controls, get those cleaned up. Of course, we've all cleaned controls before, so this is nothing exciting, but I'll bring you back if there's anything interesting. So give me a few minutes to get taken care of this, get this taken care of, I should say, and we'll start getting this thing wrapped up. All right, so we're going to pick back up, and I'll bring you back in just to give you the rundown on the control cleaning. And what I ran into was trying to do the balance, bass, and treble, and that was not something that was going to be able to be accomplished with this thing mounted into the front of the unit. So luckily they provided a couple of screws here that you can remove, and the whole assembly will kind of slide out to where you can have access to get down into it. And of course there's some slots on the top of each one of these controls that you can easily get fluid in, no trouble at all. And given this pandemic that we're having with the coronavirus and the apparent shortage of toilet paper, I didn't do my normal stuffed toilet paper up and around these to prevent any runoff. I just kind of held the unit over the bench and just let it drain into the bench, but I didn't have to use too much. These controls weren't terrible. As for the switches, that's where the real problem comes in, because you can't really get any access through the front. And so what I found that was the best way to do it is each one of these switches, and I'm going to try to get in tight here so we can see what's going on, get some light on the situation. Each one of these switches has some slots in the back. Let me find something I can point with. Each one of these switches has like a slot in the back of it. And so what I did was basically I kind of widened out that slot a little bit. And then I was able to slip some control cleaner down inside each one of those. I did that on each one of those switches. Just widened out the slot a little bit. And that made for an easy way to get some control cleaner down in there. Because I just didn't see any feasible way to get it through the front. So, and all those have been cleaned up. They all are working real nice now. The tape monitor switches in particular were causing this thing to cut out, and so now I've got all that mopped up. It seems to be just fine. So, all right, as we come back in here, I went ahead and cut the last clip off a little prematurely. The end of communication breakdown ran right into a commercial. I didn't want that to be on the video, so. But all I was going to say at the end of that is I'm going to go ahead and get everything back together, which I've already done now. Got the face back on the unit. Did a little cleaning of the interior, and everything here is looking real nice. The heat sinks, all that surface dust cleaned up, and everything looking real, real good. It was pretty clean on the inside anyway, but just removing all that surface dust got everything looking nice and bright without a haze on it. I was looking at this area we were working in right here next to this dial pointer lamp, thinking about how possible it would be to try to change that without taking the face off of it. And I'm not saying that that's not possible to do, but I think you'd play hell trying to do it. So I think the smart money is to invest a few minutes to take the face off and do it that way. And this unit does have a nice dark tinted glass on the face, and so it makes kind of seeing the front of it not real easy to do, but we can see it. It's easy to see where the bulbs are burned out. But now that the light's kind of spread out a little bit, you can kind of see a little bit more of the tuning scale than before. And easily can see the dial pointer, which is a big thing, especially if you're trying to adjust the station. You know, that's definitely something that you want working. So, got all that taken care of. All the controls sound real nice. No cutting out. All looking pretty good. So I think what we'll do, let's go ahead and get the unit back together and get it put back in the cabinet. Let's do one quick final play test on it and we'll wrap this one up.